Welcome and thank you for standing by. All participants are going to remain in a listen-only mode for the duration of today's webinar. Today's webinar is being recorded and will be posted publicly. If you have any objections, you may disconnect at this time. I would now like to turn the call and this webinar over to your host from the U.S. Census Bureau, to Stacy. Stacy, you may begin.
Thank you, Anthony. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our webinar, Using Census Business Builder to Find New Markets and Opportunities. My name is Stacy Cocker-McNeil, and I am a Data Dissemination Specialist here at the U.S. Census Bureau. I want to thank you for joining us today for the Topics, Tools, and Data to Use Strolling Through Census Bureau Data webinar series. These webinars are a great opportunity for you to learn from our experts about how to access Census Bureau data, tools, and resources. If you wish to follow along, take a moment now to open an additional browser. You can also register for any of the webinars by visiting census.gov/academy. Before I introduce today's speaker, let's go over a few important housekeeping rules. As mentioned earlier, this webinar is being recorded. For your convenience, it will be uploaded to our Census Academy site with all supplemental materials relating to the webinar within 30 business days. We welcome written questions during the webinar. Please submit your written questions using the Q&A panel, which is at the bottom center or the right side of your WebEx screen. Please take a moment to locate that now. Once you've found the Q&A panel, make sure you choose all panelists from the drop-down menu. This will ensure we see your question. Also, we ask that you do not include any personal or business identifiable information with your questions. We suggest keeping the chat panel open as we will provide key links and other resources throughout the webinar. Keep in mind, you won't be able to respond to the chat. That is for us to send out links and other resources related to the presentation. My colleagues Meredith, Andrew, and Brian will be monitoring the Q&A panel. As time allows, we will answer your question directly through the Q&A panel, or we will share your question with the presenter to respond to during the webinar. If we do not get to all the questions with the response during the webinar, we will post the questions and responses with the webinar materials on the census.gov/academy site within 30 business days. As we know, we are in a virtual environment and sometimes technical difficulties might occur. If you are having issues, try a different browser such as Chrome, or consider logging out and coming back into the session. If you're having audio issues, try selecting the computer audio or calling into the webinar via phone. Now, I would like to introduce our speaker, Nadal Gibran. Thanks again for being here today, and Nadal, you may begin.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. It is my great pleasure to be here with you to introduce and to demo the Census Business Builder. First, I'd like to start off by introducing myself. My name is Nadal Gibran. I am a program analyst with the Economic Management Division within the United States Census Bureau. On this screen, you will see my contact information, my name, Nadal Gibran, our mailbox, which is a public-facing mailbox where we can receive any inquiries or questions related to Census Business Builder. So please make sure to take this information down. If there's any questions that you have that are unanswered or we cannot get to during this session, or if you encounter any issues or opportunities for improvements with the tool, please do not hesitate to either call me or send us an email, and I will promptly respond to you. Okay, this slide will just give us a general outline of what we can expect today during today's presentation. I'm going to start off by discussing the guiding principles that went into founding and developing the tool. We will then talk about the user experience and then the tour that we have with the tool that guides you through every aspect of the application. We will go through some of the key features, the reports, our region builder, some mobile optimized features that we've recently added, and then the centerpiece of today's presentation, which is the live demonstration. We will then finalize everything with a recap conclusion, and then we will get to any questions and answers that remain. So let's get started. The first slide, the guiding principles. So we designed the Census Business Builder with one major guiding principle, that it make it easy to use. We want the users to interact with the tool and to access as much of our data as possible within as few clicks as possible, and to get all of our beautiful quality data for all of their individual user needs and use cases. From the beginning, we've had a customer focus. And this means that we've received a lot of feedback over the years based on this application, based on focus groups, webinars and presentations, such as what we're doing right now, individual trainings, conferences, all sorts of one-on-one trainings and that sort of thing. And we come away from these trainings with ideas for enhancements, with ideas for improvements, with new requirements that we can add. A variety of different use cases are always introduced to us from our data users. And as that happens, our data user pool expands to include researchers, business owners, international business owners, importers, exporters, professors, all sorts of data users find a lot of value in this data tool. So I would encourage you to take a look, take a deep dive into this tool, and provide me with any feedback you have. And I will make sure to take this to our developers and see what we can do to implement those enhancements in future releases of this tool. Okay, we provide access to Census Bureau data and more. When we first launched this tool 10 years ago in 2015, we really only used Census Bureau data. But soon we realized that there was a great benefit into combining data from other government agencies, such as the Bureau of Labor Statistics and the US Department of Agriculture. And you'll see when we conduct this live demo, especially when you walk through the reports, the breadth of data that we have available to you in Census Business Builder. We're using the latest technology. Census Business Builder was actually the first tool to make it to the cloud at Census. And best of all, it's provided for free. As you can see here, this is the link that will take you directly to the Census Business Builder. However, I will show you how to get there in a future slide. Okay, so this slide talks a little bit about the Census Business Builder user experience. Again, we've designed the Census Business Builder to allow for a positive and enriching user experience. It is useful because it can help generate customizable reports that can be used and that can serve as business plans, as marketing plans. It could even assist with economic development planning and can be used for emergency preparedness and response. The tool is very easy to locate. You can get to the application directly from our website, census.gov. It's also very easy to find through any sort of website search. Usually if you just type in Census Business Builder, it'll be the first or second search result that you'll see there. It's accessible. The application is available and it's called what we like to refer to as mobile optimized. So what you can do is you can use the tool not only on your laptop or your desktop or your PC, but you can also pull up any sort of iOS device, an Android, a tablet of any size. It's optimized across all these types of devices. And I would encourage you to just try this out, test out the system while we are in this environment together, and see how it looks on your devices. And I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. Okay. It's easy to use. It's packed with features. And however, although it is packed with features, the tour allows us to identify everything we see within the tool, and it is organized and then as intuitive a way as we can. It's also credible because we know that you are looking at the latest and most accurate data because it comes directly from the Census Bureau. We've recently added what's called a data source option in the tool, which allows you to, for whatever data item you're looking at, you can click directly back to the program area or the original data table source that cites that data. So this is very good for folks that are using Census Business Builder for research purposes, so that they can accurately cite the data and cite the genesis of where this data comes from. The Census Business Builder is valuable, and it aligns with our mission as well. So this is the tour that I mentioned. In this short animation, we'll see how you can use the tour to walk through pretty much all the features that you see on the screen. You could just click through the different cards, the reference cards, and you'll see a very short, succinct definition of what you're looking at. You can cycle forwards and backwards, and you can jump to different sections. And I'm going to demo this in a real-time environment when we get to the live demo. This slide talks about some of the key features within Census Business Builder. So I'll just go step by step here with what we're looking at. At the bottom left, we have what's called our dashboard. This is the sort of the focal point, the mission control, the central hub of Census Business Builder. This is where you can swap out any of the available data items within the universe of the data available in Census Business Builder and combine it to create your own customized data products, your own charts, graphs, time series, that kind of thing. So folks spend quite a bit of time and they find a great deal of value in this dashboard. Next, above that is our region view. As you can see, there are two ways that you can use to search for a particular region within Census Business Builder. At the very top, you can just type in directly your region. In this case, we have Fairfax County, Virginia. And if you just type in the first 3 or 4 characters, you'll start to see all the matching results, and you can simply click on the result that you like, and it'll jump right to that geography. Below that, we've got the geographic levels. So we have state, metro, county, city, town, zip code, and tract level boundaries. So clicking on any of these boundaries will automatically redraw the map for those boundaries, and then you can select whichever boundary or geographic area that you'd like to evaluate. And again, you can use the dashboard to evaluate any of these geographic boundaries. So as we can see here, geography is a major function of Census Business Builder. However, the second major function of Census Business Builder is our industries. In Census Business Builder, we pull in data from the North American Industrial Classification System, or NAICS, as it's referred to, so that you can combine not only your geographic data, but business data. And when you combine these two, you create very, very powerful products that you can use to make business decisions of all types. For instance, if you were looking at opening some sort of a business like a spa, a salon, that kind of thing, you would select that as your industry. So maybe some sort of a salon, and then you can utilize the geographic feature to identify areas of opportunity for opening that particular establishment. Or if you already have an establishment, you can identify areas for expansion to open up new establishments and to grow your enterprise. Okay. Next are the map variable options. Census Business Builder provides us with what's called bivariate mapping, which means we can have up to 2 map variables displayed on the map at any given time. This means that you can assign a primary and secondary map variable. And if you can see my cursor, we've got on the dashboard on the left, I'm hovering over the primary map variable. I'm not sure if you can see my cursor. Hopefully you can. And below that is our secondary map variable. To the right of that, we've got 4 additional data items. Now, these data items are a little bit different than what we see on the left, because what we see on the left are map variables, which will change and update the look and feel of the map itself. The primary map variable will appear here on the dashboard. So we've set the primary map variable is set to establishments. So this is reflective here on the dashboard, and now we can see the number of establishments as measured here in this first bar chart. It's also assigned as the first legend item right here, and also we've got its representative here on the map as a color grading. So the primary map variable is visually, you can visually see the color of the primary map variable, and you can also see it here on the legend, as well as the primary key in the dashboard. The secondary map variable is representative as a secondary map variable, a secondary legend variable. If you were to scroll down there, you would see that there. It's also represented as a proportional circle here. And I'm going to demo this to you as well when we get to the live environment. All right, next we've got our filter menu. A filter simply will filter the map based on a data item that you set. So you can have up to 3 filters assigned at the same time. Like let's say you have a map with all of the geographic areas available, nothing is grayed out, and you want to filter out only those geographies that have, let's say, a higher median household income. So if you would like to do that, you would set the filter first to the median household income. And then below that, you would be presented with an option of ranges. And you can set your range of data within median household income to a higher range. And as you slide that, towards the higher end of that, the higher maximum value, you'll start to notice the map will gray out and only leave those available geographic areas that match that criteria for higher median income. So it's another way to visually manipulate the map based on your original use case. Next, we've got some map variable options. We've got some map buttons rather. These map buttons, a lot of them, like the first one here, will take you home. So as you start to make all these selections, you have made all sorts of options and you've clicked around quite a few times. If you'd like to reset everything, you can just click on home. You also have the option to change the base maps, the reference layers. You can toggle the pop-ups information on or off, as well as you zoom in and out. Below that, we've got our legends, the map legends, and finally, our reports. You can access the reports here by clicking Create Report towards the bottom left of the dashboard. Okay, so now the report itself is another very powerful feature of Census Business Builder. The reports are comprised of interactive charts of all types. Time series are available, geo-ranking, geo-comparisons. You can customize your reports by hiding or exposing only certain elements of the report. You can rename your report. You can export your report and save it to, save it to your desktop. You can share the report with colleagues. As I stated earlier in one of my previous slides, the reports can serve multiple purposes, including, marketing plans or, proposals, business proposals, that kind of thing. And I'm actually very excited to show you the reports. We also have what's called a region builder. So we have multiple options in Census Business Builder to create a region. Option 1 is you can just build a region of 2 or more geographies of the same type. So for instance, 2 counties or 10 zip codes, 13 states, all within the same geographic type. And to do that, what we were doing here is we are in the dashboard and we've clicked over here to region view, whereas previously by default, it sets you to the detailed view, okay? So by clicking on region view, we have access to this region builder where you can create your own region and then you can generate your own reports for that region. Okay, so again, option 1, build a region of 2 or more geographies of the same type, and these are the different geography types there. Option 2, of course, you can build a region of 2 or more geographies of 2 or more types, so you can kind of mix up different regions, counties with places, with cities, with metros. I would just caution you when you do that to make sure that there's no overlap between those 2 geographic areas. because if you do that, then it could impact some of the data. And option 3, you can build a region using our pre-built regions, and I will demo that to you as well because it's not available here on the screenshot because it does require a few clicks to get to there. Okay. Okay, as I said before, Census Business Builder is mobile optimized. It is designed to be accessible across all mobile phones of all types, tablets, desktops. This is something that we've introduced in the past, I'd say 2 years or so. And again, I would encourage you to just try testing this out on your phone. And I think you'll be pleasantly surprised because although it is packed with features, it is organized and very intuitive and easy to use regardless of the size of your device. Okay, and now we are going to get into the live demonstration portion of our presentation. So just allow me to switch over to my screen here. All right, hopefully you can see the browser.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you for that confirmation. So again, you can access Census Business Builder through the census.gov website or through a simple Google search. But I'm just going to show you how we can do it through the Census website. So here we are at www.census.gov. You want to first hover over to Data and Maps, and then click on Data Tools and Apps. Okay. All right, and if you were to scroll down across our many tools, you will see Census Business Builder it's in alphabetical order, right there, Census Business Builder. Okay, and this is the Census Bureau website for Census Business Builder. Now, this is a website that I would recommend bookmarking, and the reason why I say that is because you want to refer to this website every so often, because when we do make enhancements to the tool, we will update this website and specify any new progress that we've made, including any new bug fixes, any new data that have been included, as well as any new features that we have implemented as well. So just looking through this very quickly, we can see that we are currently in version 5.9 of Census Business Builder. Scrolling down, this section provides just an overall description of some of the key features of the application. And next, we've got a what's new section. So this describes the newest features that we've added in version 5.9. And as I said earlier, we are constantly updating with the newest, latest, and greatest data. We have new information, new data available for our building permit survey. We've introduced a new consumer spending data item, which is called consumer expenditures per household on computer information services. We've updated the base map. We've enhanced the ability to search for pre-built regions directly from the region search box, as well as some other updates and bug fixes for known issues. Okay. Below that, some very informative reference materials here, some flyers. I would recommend particularly this first one right here, which provides a general overview of the Census Business Builder. So clicking on that, on the right, this describes all of the data that's included in the tool. As I said in one of my first slides, it started off with just Census Bureau data, but we've expanded to include data from other agencies. The dashboard or the application screenshot is right here. And we have defined everything we see on our screen with these definitions below right here where it says map features. This is a little discussion of the interactive reports, how to search for industries, and then again, some contact information as well. And this is just one of a number of flyers here. Okay, all right, so this is our Census Bureau website. To get to the actual application, you want to just click here, Census Business Builder, and this takes you to the tool. Okay. So just to get started, I will click on, assuming that we are all very this is our first time experiencing the application. Let's just click on Take a Tour. Okay. And this will, again, we've got 43 tour cards here, and the tour defines all of the options available to you, every function available, how to select a geography type. You can go back, how to select a location, selecting an industry, and then more details on how to do that. So if at any point you'd like to exit the tour, you can just click out like that. You can also go back to the tour by clicking Help, clicking Take the Tour again, and get right back into it. You also have the option to jump forward to another section. So if you're already familiar with perhaps everything up to here, but you may need more assistance with perhaps the region builder, just click on Region Builder. It'll direct you on how to access the Region Builder, how to create your region, how to add geographies, and perform your analysis that way. And once you feel like you're satisfied with everything that the tour has to offer, you can just click out of it. Maybe you can click here to start over again, click on Home to reset, either way. Next up, let's just start with searching for a geography. So we go back to our detailed view. If you'll notice, it's a little slow right now. You will experience this from time to time. And this is because Census Business Builder does rely on what's called the Census API. So if there is a demand on census data at any given time, then it will be a little bit laggy as we see right now. So that's why I have these preloaded tabs here, just to make the experience a little bit easier. But let's just start with our search. So again, you can redraw your map by clicking any of these geographic areas here, levels there, or you can just start typing in your location. We can just start with Fairfax County. And while that's loading, I will go to the next screen. Or right there, where we have Fairfax County already loaded. So again, you may experience some lag sometimes, and I do apologize for that. It is, unfortunately, it's out of our control. Let me see what happens if I type it in again. Sometimes it does pick up in speed. And if it doesn't do it here, that's okay, because we can just hop over to this next tab. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So what I've done is I've typed in Fairfax County, Virginia. And when I do that, the dashboard is automatically populated with all of the relevant data for Fairfax County, Virginia. By default, the dashboard is preloaded with the following data items. We've got median household income, percent high school degree or higher, all employer establishments total, and home ownership rate. And on the left are those map variables that we discussed earlier. The primary map variable is also the key here in the center of the dashboard, which is what all of these other regions are measured against. Okay, if I were to click on time series, it's depicting a time series of the change in whatever you select as a primary map variable over time, which happens to be, again, all employer establishments total. Geo-comparison. This compares the number of the primary map variable, again, employer establishments, with the next highest level geography for that same variable. So, logically, we would expect to see quite a smaller number of employer establishments in Fairfax County than we would in Virginia. But this could be interesting when comparing other sorts of variables like median household income. So let's try doing that. Let's swap. You can swap any of these variables over and convert it into a primary map variable by clicking on the star, and that turns it into a primary map variable. So now we are looking at median household income as our primary map variable, right? And now we've got our time series, and we can see over last year, or the most latest year available and the previous year available, how that particular variable has changed, whether an increase or increase for Fairfax County, Virginia. We can go to geo ranking. We can see how the median household income compares with some of the other counties within this area, within the surrounding area. We can go to geo comparison, where we get a better idea now of the comparison of median household income within Fairfax County to the state of Virginia, and then Fairfax County to the on a national level as a whole. Okay, so again, just within this dashboard, within a few clicks, you can really gain a lot of insights here. Very powerful tool. And again, the way I did that was I just converted whatever was here to the primary map variable by selecting the star. Okay. Not only do I have that ability, I can also swap out variables. So let's say I'm happy with median household income as my primary map variable, because I want to see that on my map and I want to see that on my legend. That's a major part of my analysis. Perhaps I'd like to change or assign a secondary map variable. And a use case that I think that we can all sort of identify with here is opening some sort of an establishment, let's say a restaurant, and you would like to open a restaurant perhaps in an area where there is a significantly higher median household income, because you want folks who have that disposable income to spend money. Okay, so let's leave our primary map variable as it is. Select our secondary map variable, which is right here. And I will also say that you can make these selections here as well. Okay, so you can either select within the dashboard, or you can select above right here. Clicking right there, we are presented with the overall menu or universe of data items that are available within Census Business Builder. And now I think it's a good time to walk through those data items and just show and demonstrate what is available here. So let's do that. First up, we've got the kind of this toggle between primary and secondary map variable. So since we are looking at secondary map variable, we want to make sure that that is selected. Okay, we are looking at the county level data because, as a general rule, you can find the business data is pretty much only available at the county level. That's where you can find the best and the most quality data. At the lowest level is the county level. So that's where I would stick with if you were looking for business data specifically. Okay, all right, so we've got our county. And now we've got the data items themselves here. So we've got consumers, residents. Well, first of all, we've got primary categories, and in some cases, we've got secondary categories. So for primary categories, consumers, residents, you could think of this perhaps as your customer base, the demographic characteristics of your customers. So population, percent male, female, age breakouts, working age, additional demographic information, etc. Now we're going to go into the second and into the next subcategory or secondary category within the primary category of consumers residents, socioeconomic characteristics. I like to think of this as the economic condition of your customers. So household income, median household income, average household income, educational level, poverty rates, percent population in the working force, 16 or older, employment, disability, health coverage. In some cases, you'll see this, what's called the chevron, which allows you to expand and get further breakouts. So we've got percent of all workers 16 and over who commute to work. You can select this and see, specifically how they get to work, journey to work sort of thing. So percent who drive alone to work, carpool, use public transportation to commute to work, folks who walk to work, or folks who use other means to commute to work. Let's collapse that. Percent who work from home, average travel time, number of vehicles present in the household, percent veterans, percent foreign born, languages spoken. Very valuable information there as well. Housing characteristics, number of housing units is displayed here. Owner occupied housing, vacancy rate. You've got stuff like average housing value, median rent, average rent. I think this is fantastic. I think this is really good information if you say are interested in purchasing a second home and treating it as an investment property. You really want to know, the home ownership rate in that area. You want to know the median household costs, the median rent, the vacancy rate. How long will your house remain vacant and you'll be earning little to no rental income? So again, very important information here. And finally, our employment characteristics. This is a breakout of the employment base of a given area. So if you were to evaluate a specific county, state, city, metro area, this gives you an idea of the number of folks within these specified industry who work in those industries, rather. So this is the employment makeup of a given area. All right, so going back to this use case. All right, so we've walked through the consumer's residence. Now we're going to go to our business annual. This really comprises the business part of Census Business Builder. Okay, this is where most of this data is derived from either the economic census, but in most cases it comes from our county business patterns, and you can see that here by hovering over. If you hover over any data item, you should see a tooltip or a pop-up on the left that describes this data item, and below that you'll see the source, including the year and the program area where it comes from. And if you'd like additional information, you can click on View Data Source. This will take you directly to the data itself, where you can verify this data and do further analysis of these tables. So we think this goes far and beyond in terms of data traceability, especially for our researchers who need to cite this information. Okay, employers. So we've got employers as our secondary category. The first is our all employer establishments. We've got this breakout where we can evaluate the business size, small businesses of less than 5 employees. Let me move this here. Small businesses comprising of less than 5 to 9 employees, etc., all the way up to very large employments. We've got total employment of employers, annual payroll of employers, revenue data, and then some demographic. This is employer owner demographic data. So the demographic information of owners of these employers. So veteran owned employers, minority owned, that sort of thing. And at the very bottom, we've got the number of establishment entrants and establishment exits, which can help you evaluate the overall health of a particular industry within a geography. Okay, so that was just employers. Next, we've got our non-employers. Now, we do not survey non-employers specifically, but we do gather this data from administrative records, and we are able to put together really nice data products called our non-employer statistics survey. So the NES. So here we've got non-employer statistics or non-employer firms total. And then again, very similar to what we have here under the employers, we've got the revenue of non-employer firms in thousands, revenue per non-employer firms in thousands. and then combine total number of employer and non-employers, revenue data here, sales value shipments, and then also similar to what we had here for the demographics of the owners, we've got demographics of non-employer owners. So American Indian, Native American, Hispanic, female, male, veteran, etc. All right, next is key ratios. These are some calculations that we calculate for you kind of behind the scenes that we feel are very important and can be useful for your use cases. So, you know, some examples here are the average employment per employer, average revenue per employer. You know, does it make sense to hire an additional employer, and how much revenue can we expect them to bring in? Average payroll per employee. If I am a you know, if I am a sole proprietorship, or if I am a non-employer of some sort, I own one establishment and I am the only employee, and you know, my enterprise is very successful, so perhaps it's time to expand and open another establishment. Well, in that case, I may need to convert from a non-employer to an employer. Well, what would I expect to be paying my employees if that were the case? Well, then I would really rely on this sort of information. In some cases, we have international trade data, imports and exports. If we were to select a geography that had some sort of a port or a border crossing, then this would become available. We've got imports and exports, and then we've got imports by mode of transport, including air and vessel, and exports by mode of transports, including air and vessel. Okay, next is our quarterly business. And if you have any questions about where this data comes from or the difference between establishments quarterly right here versus establishments from this section, just look over just look at this tooltip. This comes from a slightly different, not a slightly different, it comes from an entirely different area. Comes from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the quarterly census of employment and wages. And this is quarterly level data. This section, businesses annual, comes from our 2022 county business patterns. This is census data. Okay, so it's important to make that delineation. Any further questions, you can always just click on view data source, and this will take you to the source of this data. And you can recreate these tables by selecting the year, the quarter, as well as your industry, and you will then generate your table that way. But just walking through here, this information is valuable for measuring the quarterly levels of employment, as well as wages. We've got level changes, so wage changes month to month, and number of employment changes. Again, hover over that to see if, just to get the information on the vintage of the data. So this particular information, employment change month 3, third month of the quarter in 2023 to 2024. That is also cited here in the pop-up, as well as in the source statement, quarterly census of employment and wages. And again, click right there to get right to that data source. I'm going to go over here to workforce. Workforce data. I will also say this, you can hover over these categories as well, and it gives you some information about what to expect here within these categories, as well as in some cases, it will provide you with the source, the data source. So as you can see towards the middle of that short paragraph, Bureau of Labor Statistics, quarterly census of employment and wages. Here we've got data from ACS, American Community Survey, all that. So it's very important to take a look and make sure that you are aware of the data that you're looking at. In this case, we've got data on hires and separations. This comes again from quarterly workforce indicators. What kind of data product is that? Well, let's click on view data source. It's a census data product, and we've got our QWI Explorer. All right, fantastic. This information will, again, you can break this one down. This starts off at an aggregate level with all hires for all educational attainment. For a specific industry and geography, you can determine the number of hires that represents, different levels of education. You can also see the number of separations, the firm job gains and firm job losses, and the changes. This will help you identify and evaluate the overall health of an industry and how it's trending within a geographic area. Looks like we're kind of running short on time here. I want to make some time for questions and answers. So I will get through the next few sections fairly quickly. We've got building permits. This comes from our building permit survey. These two items here were added recently. And I think we saw that here on our website. Building permits survey data. The new data items we're referring specifically to the buildings total and building units total. So again, if you're interested in building permits and the number of buildings that are commissioned to be built, this is where you would find that data. If you need more information about the source of that data, just click on that button. It takes you here. Okay, consumer spending data. These are the spending habits of your consumers. This is very important information, especially if you are in the service industry. You want to open any sort of an establishment that has customers of any sort. You want to know how they're spending their money. This is where you get that information. In our case, we are looking at the opening a restaurant for folks that have a lot of money. Let's just say that, high-end restaurants. So let's just go down to something that we can use for that use case. And what do we have here? Okay, I think I saw it. Consumer expenditures per household on dining out, food away from home. Okay, so click on that. Secondary map variable has been set. Give that time to load. And now we should see that our legend has been updated. Primary map variable is median household income, and it's still loading with information for that new data item there. So while that is loading, let me just exit out of some of this stuff here. And luckily for us, I already have another session already open with this information. It also appears to be loading there, but fortunately, we don't need the dashboard in this case. We're just going to use our eyeballs and see visually where it would make sense to open a restaurant that matches our criteria. Again, our criteria, high income folks who spend a lot of money dining out, okay? Now, primary map variable is our household income. The higher the income is the darker the color blue. Secondary map variable is a proportional circle. The larger the circle, the more money they spend. And you can just quickly use your eyes. We can see here by hovering over any of these geographic areas of interest here without even having to click on them. Those primary and secondary map variable information become visible here. So fairly high median household income in Loudoun County, Virginia, as well as in Fairfax County, Virginia. So what we can do is we can maybe click on Loudoun County, because I see there's also quite a bit that they spend dining out. So let's click on that, open our dashboard. And now we can go ahead and create our report. Well, let's do it for Fairfax County, actually, because I already have a report preloaded for Fairfax County. Oops, excuse me, sorry for that. Click on report. That may take a second or two to load, but we already have our information here for Fairfax County, right? Just going through the report, I will say that there's one thing I did not cover, so let me just briefly go through that. We've only focused on geography at this point. What we did not focus on was industry. Okay. Census Business Builder is a function of industry and geography. And if you remember during my slide deck, you can access and identify your industry, your NAICS industry here by selecting right here where it says all sectors. By default, Census Business Builder pulls in data for all sectors that is so that we get some business data available to show up. However, you can set your industries by clicking on Edit Industry. And again, it's fairly slow, and I apologize for that. And if it continues to lag, then I'll just go right to the report because I know we're running a little short of time. But what you would see is a listing of some categories on the left of the types of industries. One of them would be food service. You can click on that. And then to the right, you would select restaurants, and then restaurants would be expressed in your dashboard. And that's what it would look like, restaurants. So, and clicking on that report will take you to restaurants for Fairfax County, Virginia. And now I'm going to walk you through the reports here, okay? So the reports are sort of organized in very similar fashion as we see here with our consumers, residents, our businesses, building permits, consumer spending, etc. Okay, and then here we've got consumers, residents, businesses, etc. Scrolling down, we can see the demographic characteristics of Fairfax County, Virginia. This is the demographics are part of the consumers residents section. And I will say that this is completely agnostic of whatever selections we make for our industry. This is purely geographic information. Okay. So you can just kind of scroll through, you can see the total population. If you'd like, you can click on settings, click on show sources here, and then this new column will pop up. And this will allow you, again, similar to to show the data sources, this will direct you to the source of everything here in the reports. Everything will have its own source here if you have any questions about it. And this is because we've had questions repeatedly. It's been a very common concern in previous demonstrations of this. Where's this data coming from? How do I know what do I tell people about it? That kind of thing. So we've implemented this very simple fix, to cite the source, provide a link to where the data comes from. And that's what we did. So demographic information, everything here is available. You're not just limited to the 4 data items and the 2 data items here on the dashboard. Here you have everything in the reports. That's what makes it so powerful. Next is our socioeconomic characteristics. Again, the economic condition of your customers, median household income, educational level, all that stuff that we saw earlier within the application. I'm just going to go right to the business section because what we're concerned with is whether or not it makes sense to open a restaurant in Fairfax County, Virginia, because we looked here and we saw Fairfax County, Virginia was, a relatively good candidate in terms of household income and expenditures on dining out. All right, so let's see if it makes sense, and let's just perhaps see what the economic landscape looks like as well as our competition. Okay, so going to employer businesses. I am going to be an employer. This is the number of total employment establishments, restaurants in Fairfax County, and then the number of smaller businesses, let's say less than 9, so 5 to 9, and then less than 5. And very few, of course, that have 1,000 or so, right? Completely understandable. If I were to open a business here, how much can I expect to pay my employees? What is the total employment of the employers and total annual payroll of my employers? Some of this data is not available depending on some factors such as the industry or the geography. Sometimes due to disclosure reasons, we can't disclose that information. That's probably why we're seeing that right there. You can also see something like the payroll per employee. We can see like a time series. We can see how Fairfax County, the payroll of employees in the restaurant industry in Fairfax County compares with Virginia. So it looks like the payroll is slightly higher. We can see how payroll has changed over the past 5 years or so. We can see the number of smaller establishments and how they have grown or declined. So we really see the growth and health of the industry, the number of entrants and exits. Well, this is not available, so you won't see anything there. Payroll, of course. We've got revenue, so the average revenue per employer in the thousands. This comes from our economic census. That's why we're seeing a 5-year time series right there. So you can see whether there's been an increase or decrease in revenue for this industry in this geographic area. Same for the averages and the total revenue. Similar information available for the non-employer firms. Okay, there are plenty of restaurants that are non-employers. I'm sure there's many more non-employers um, than um, than their counterparts. So this is information that captures that. If you are opening a single establishment with no employees, this will help you identify whether it would make sense to do so in that area. And this just gives you kind of the competition and the potential revenue that you can expect. We've got information in the quarterly data. I'm not going to go too much into this right now. Permits as well. Business totals. This is something I would like to spend a very quick minute on because it is very important. What this does, again, we are now no longer focused on our industries, but this is all about the geographic area because this is a slice of the entire economy for this geographic area. You can use this to see, the total, you could judge the health of these sectors within a geography. So which sectors pay pay the most, are the highest paying. So let's go see what we have here. We have total revenue, total annual payroll of employers. So just sorting by high to low, information, finance, healthcare, professional, scientific, and technical services. These tend to be the highest paying sectors in Fairfax County. For non-employers, the highest ones would be very similar. Construction actually is a very high earning sector in this area. Establishment entrance, which sectors are sort of growing, which sectors are not growing. Some key ratios, again, payroll per employee, another big one. If I were to move into this area, which sectors would I be interested in? Would it be lucrative for me to even make this? If I already work in wholesale trade, how does my pay look like in this area? That kind of thing. Same with non-employer. We've got our non-employer business ownership. This is the demographic characteristics of non-employer businesses. So in a particular area, the number of minority-owned businesses are highly represented in these sectors. Same with veterans and that sort of thing. Consumer spending, and that about wraps it up for our reports. And I think that is all the time I have for you today. I really hope you enjoyed this live demo. As you can see, there's so much we can cover with Census Business Builder, and I wish I had more time to really demo and go through more with you, but I did hope you find some value in here. I am now going to switch back to to our PowerPoints. Just bear with me here.
Oh, that was excellent. Thank you. While we're waiting for you to show your recap and everything, thank you so much. So go ahead, keep proceeding.
Okay, great. Recap, self-explanatory. It is a very powerful tool. It's free. There's no charge to it. Whenever I show this tool to anyone, a lot of the times they're asking me, how much does this cost, or is there a subscription? And no, it's paid for already. Open it up on your phone. Just go have fun with it. Provide a very unique and powerful user experience. As you can see, it is packed with features. We tried to organize it in a way that allows for the most comfortable and easiest user experience, and that's our goal here. Contains a host of different features that we're continually adding, and a lot of these come directly from your feedback. So we appreciate your time, and I really certainly appreciate any feedback, positive, negative, that you have for me. You should have my contact information. And again, it was a great pleasure speaking with you all today, and I hope you enjoyed my presentation. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. We sure
Here's my-
did it all. Really appreciate it. So
Wonderful.
we're not gonna, yeah, we've been putting contact information in the chat for people and with questions that everyone's been asking. There have been a lot of questions, so I think that you will probably get some feedback from people and
Certainly.
people reaching out. But we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up. So thank you again
Mhm.
for your presentation. It was excellent. And if you would like assistance or more information on our data and resources, we have an excellent team of data dissemination specialists across the regions who are available. You can request a training by visiting the Census Academy page at census.gov/academy. There you will find other resources such as recorded webinars and data gems. So before we conclude, I'd like to thank everyone who played a role in today's webinar. We thank you, our audience, for spending your time with us this afternoon. And we are very interested in hearing from you on how we were doing. So please take a moment to fill out the evaluation that will appear when you exit. That brings us to a close. Thank you again for joining us, and hope you have a great afternoon.
That concludes today's session. You may disconnect at this time. Have a great afternoon, everyone.